All right, welcome to the solution walkthrough for Calculate and All. And just as a reminder, Diane had reached out asking for some follow-up help on a return analysis. And there were a couple of measures and a matrix that we needed to create as part of this assignment. So here's the solution preview. Again, you're going to have two measures, one for all returns, one for percent of all returns, and then you should have a matrix that looks like this below. All right, so let's head over to Power BI and we'll walk through this. All right, so the first key objective is we need to create a new measure named all returns. And for this measure, we need to calculate the total number of returns regardless of the filter context. All right, so all returns. Right, and here we want to use calculate, and the expression that we want to evaluate is total returns. And we want to evaluate total returns in a modified filter context where we're removing all filters from the returns table. So basically, regardless of any filter context applied to the returns data, we want to make sure that we're still returning all of our returns. So we'll lock this in, make sure that's formatted. All right, so that's your first key objective. The second key objective is to create a new measure, and we're going to call this percent of all returns. All right, so percent of all returns. And we can use, again, divide here. And our numerator is going to be total returns. And the denominator is going to be all returns. And we'll lock that in. This is going to give us our percent of all returns. Make sure that we format this as a percentage. All right, so our third key objective is to create a matrix to show the percent of all returns by product categories. All right, so let's do this. We're going to create a new matrix. And for rows, we're going to do category name. And then in the values, we want to add in percent of all returns. Perfect. So which categories account for the largest percent of returns and the smallest? So we can see here that accessories are our most frequently returned items and clothing is the least returned. All right, so with that, that's going to wrap up this solution walkthrough on Calculate and All.